So, guys, we've been on quite a few Disney cruises, and we wanted to make a series dedicated to booking your first Disney cruise. We're going to include things like how to get ready, what to expect when you're on the boat, what are the different amenities, what about food and drinks, how does that work, different things that are going to include your interests and your hobbies, and just overall how to get ready for this new experience if you've never been on one. So, stay tuned for our how to cruise series. So the first thing you have to ask yourself when planning a Disney cruise is your budget. How much are you willing, or how much would you like to spend on your Disney cruise vacation? Now, Disney cruises tend to be a little bit more pricier than other cruises. However, now that we've seen some of the other cruises coming out with newer boats, the prices are pretty comparable. But that being said, you have to ask yourself, how much are you willing to spend on this vacation? And then kind of set a limit for yourself in that way. Also, keep in mind that food and drinks are pretty much included on the cruise ship, especially soft drinks. I know other cruise lines will charge you for a drink package, even for soft drinks, but only on Disney Cruise Line, you really only have to worry about like alcoholic drinks and like specialty drinks, even like specialty mocktails. Those would be an extra charge. But soft drinks, tea, I believe, coffee, the hot cocoa, those are all served on deck. You can go around at any time during the day and evening and get them. There's food served on deck. There's different menus on deck. There's buffets all day long, and then you have your preset dinner venues each night. So really only if you go to a fancy restaurant or you order alcoholic drinks or specialty drinks are you having to pay extra for food and drink. So once you've established your budget, you can go into thinking about how many days you want to go on the cruise. They kind of go hand in hand because the more days you spend on the cruise, the more money you're going to spend. Disney Cruise offers the 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights, and 7 nights, I believe. Usually it'll say like 7 nights, 8 days, or 6 nights, or 5 nights, 6 days. But keep in mind the last day is really you coming off of the ship and de-embarking. You'll have breakfast in the morning and pretty much come off. So I don't really consider that a day. Now, for first-time cruise goers, we technically recommend like the shortest cruise, the 3 nights, 4 days, because that way you can see, is cruising really for you? Is the hustle and bustle okay? Are you okay being on a ship for that long? Will you get seasick? Will you just like the overall atmosphere? And in that way, if it's a bad experience, you don't have to come back. It's a one and done. And if it's something you like, then you're willing to come back. Something else that you need to think about is your stateroom. This kind of goes hand in hand with budget as well. So with Disney Cruise staterooms, there are 4 tiers. You have the inside rooms, the ocean view rooms, veranda rooms, and the concierge. Concierge being the most expensive. So inside rooms actually have like a magical little porthole that you can look out to see outside. And Ocean View will have your portal. And there's also these new staterooms that I'm seeing where it's Ocean View and you have two portals and you actually have two parts of the room. It's like a more spacious room. But I think those range in price close to pretty much what a veranda room would cost. And then you have your veranda room, which has your outside seating, where you can sit outside and, relax and enjoy. So concierge is its own ball game in itself. It is a very nice experience, but it is very pricey for what it's worth. I only have done concierge one time for our honeymoon. It was years ago when cruises were a lot cheaper than they were today. But you do have a veranda room and you have access to your own private lounge. You actually have access to your own personal contact person that is like your concierge person that you contact for anything that you want to change or add or just any concerns. You can pick from different pillows. You have access to a robe and slippers. You get early boarding. You get access to like any of your requests. If you have a special occasion you're trying to celebrate, they try very hard to accommodate and meet your needs. um, your agent is available pretty much from early morning to like mid afternoon for any of your requests or changes. You have you get kind of like a first priority for any changes that you need to make. Like if you want to change your itinerary or you have a special occasion you want to celebrate. They're really, really good at accommodating when you're dealing with concierge. So and when you board, you get early boarding. I know I've mentioned that before. When you leave the ship, you can just put your luggage. They'll come get it for you. There's a lot of perks that come with concierge. You actually also get the ability to book things 120 days prior to sailing. You can inform the concierge team of your preferences 130 days prior to sailing. And all of this information I'm getting straight from the website because I didn't really remember all the things that we were given. And on a 3 night cruise, there's not really much that you can get done. I find on the longer cruises, you can get a lot more done. You have reservations for Palo or Remy, spa treatments, or nursery stays. They can personalize them if you need to make quick changes. You can get first dibs during the concierge. So, once again, if it goes into your budget, then that would be something that you can enjoy. You also have your own sun deck area, and I believe you have your own access to the pool. Yes, I remember that you have your own way to get into the pool, and it's pretty closer and it's easier to access. So one more thing I want to talk about are the pros and cons for each of the room types. So the first one you have is what's called the inside room. And with the inside room comes a magical portal that's above the bed, and it has what's called real-time views. So I believe it's like a camera on the front of the ship that you are looking through and you're seeing the ocean in real-time views. The size is smaller than the other rooms. You can fit up to 4 people because you have the bed and then you have a couch that you can pull out and use as a sleeper. Again, the size is smaller than the other rooms, but if it fits within your budget, you can still get a view of the ocean and, save that money that you say or use that money that you saved on the room to enjoy the other amenities on the ship. The next kind of room is the ocean view, and that's where you have a bigger portal to look out of, a little more space in the room, and then they have like deluxe ocean view staterooms which come with a little bit bigger, and like I mentioned earlier, they have the new type of state ocean view staterooms where you have like a big portal that you can actually sit on and look out, and then another portal, so there's two portals in the room, and you have a separate you actually have, it kind of looks like two rooms within one. You have like a sitting area which is separate from the area with the bed, so that's kind of nice, and that will cost a little bit more, probably closer to the price of a veranda room. And then you have the veranda room, which we have actually experienced. I've never actually done the other types. I'm kind of looking to try one of the ocean view or inside rooms just to see how it is because they are a lot cheaper. But the veranda rooms, you have the nice sitting area outside, and I can't tell you how beautiful it is of an experience to stand there or sit there for sunrise or sunset and just look out on the open ocean. Really great experience, but again, it has to fit into your budget and also what your preferences are. Um, and then concierge, you get the veranda, and we've talked about those perks with concierge already. Another thing that you need to look at is the time of year because based on the time of year is how the prices are going to change. Obviously, when you have busy seasons like spring break, summer break, winter break, anything that has to do with school breaks, those prices are going to be skyrocketed. So your best bet is going off season. If you're okay with dealing with a little bit of cooler weather on the ship, like a little nippiness or breeziness on the ship, January, February are usually good times, or early March before spring break sets in, right after summer break, after everybody's gone back to school. I know those are times where there might be possible hurricanes, but a lot of times the ships can reroute, in which case you won't not be interfering with the hurricane. Things like that. When looking at different parts of the ship, like what's the best part of the ship to book, it's definitely midship. You have less rockiness, it's more stable. The front of the ship can be a little bit rocky, especially in the early winter, like January, February, early March. And then the back of the ship, I have not booked the back of the ship yet, but I think it would kind of be the same as the front, maybe a little bit less rocky. The front is the most rockiest, but the midship is definitely the best area to book. The next thing you need to figure out is your port of departure. Where is it and how much is it going to cost? Does it require me to travel? If you're within driving distance in the state of Florida, there are two ports. There's Port Canaveral and there's the Fort Lauderdale one. There is another port in Tampa, but it's rarely used. But if you're out of state, then you're going to either need to take a plane, take a bus, or rent a car, or drive your own car. So there's going to be some form of added cost for you getting to the actual port. So you'll have to add that into your budget as well. Once you get to the actual port, there's going to be a parking garage and there is a charge per day per vehicle. I'll have that in the video as well. And you'll have to add that into your total costs for the trip as well. So this next part is going to talk about what you need to have in terms of legal paperwork to travel on a cruise because you would not want to go there, show up at the port, and be denied. And trust me, you will be denied if you do not have the proper paperwork. So you need to have a valid passport or other proof of citizenship, especially if you're coming from a different country. You need to make sure that you have the correct citizenship. I would call ahead, make sure get all your ducks in a row. If you are a U.S. citizen, you need to have a U.S. passport because it makes sense if you're going into a different port or different country, and let's say that you're stuck there or any situation where you have to come back into the US from another country, you need to have a valid passport. You also need to make sure you have a copy of the online check-in port arrival form. Usually you get that during getting your email or you'll be mailed that, but you need to have that printed out and ready to go. And then you need to make sure you have identification for your children as well. If you are a minor under the age of 17 traveling, you need to have authorization from your parents in order to travel on the boat. Once you have everything booked, you can also go under My Reservations on the Disney Cruise website, and it'll give you additional information about what you need to travel and just to make sure you have the required paperwork. Remember, it is your responsibility to check with this, and because you don't want to be denied entry. There is one more thing I've heard a lot about closed loop and open loop cruises. In terms of whether you need a passport or not, I have heard under a closed loop cruise, which means that it starts at an American port and it ends at an American port, that you don't necessarily need a passport. But guys, if you're putting so much money into this cruise and effort and time, it's better to be safe than sorry. I would just bring the passport. Like I said, there are rare cases within the closed loop cruise in which are okay to have other forms of identification. But for me, your best bet is just to have that passport because you know you will be accepted and you won't have any issues. So I actually did do more research because I was kind of curious about the whole passport issue. And what I did discover on the Disney Cruise website itself, it does say for the Bahamas, Caribbean, Pacific Coast, Bermuda, or Canada round trip cruises, you would need a valid US passport or valid US passport card or original valid trusted traveler card or original or copy of state issued birth certificate and physical government issued photo ID. Number one, Puerto Rico birth certificates issued prior to July 1st, 2010 are not acceptable. Hospital issued birth certificates are not acceptable. You can also use your original consular report of birth abroad and a physical government issued ID, or you can also use original certificate of naturalization issued by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services and physical government ID. Children 15 years of age and younger are required to present one of the documents listed above, but do not need to present a government issued photo ID. Social security cards and global entry are not acceptable proof of U.S. citizenship for purposes of traveling outside of the U.S. Now, U.S. legal permanent residents, guests who are legal permanent residents of the U.S. must present a valid original permanent resident card. Photocopies are not acceptable. Canadian citizens, they can provide original valid Canadian passport or original valid trusted traveler cards like Nexus or FAST. Citizens of all other countries have to have original valid passport, and that is coming directly off of the Disney Cruise website. It is a little different for Alaska. If you would like me to post the Alaska guidelines, you can comment on the video, or you can also visit Disney Cruise website and look for passport and travel documentation section. That concludes our first segment of the How to Cruise series. If you have any more questions, please comment and don't forget to like and subscribe.